Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final Bravo of the crazy season, as we call it. Our last Bravo of the 2021 season for Shifting Focus, our dance concert for the spring. Welcome. We're so glad that you're all here. Before we get to the talk, I'm going to hand it over to our department head, Mo LeMay, to talk a little bit. Come on, Mo, take it over.
Hey, everybody. It's great to see all of your faces. I can't wait to see you in person. I think it's going to be happening soon based on the grocery store this morning where no one's masked up anymore. A little nerve-wracking, but we seem to be moving in that direction. I always want to thank all of you for your sponsorship, and I'm really happy that we have a lot of our Bravo scholars here so you can see some of the result of your giving in person with their beautiful faces looking back at you. And I don't know how it's organized in your screen, so I won't even begin to try to do it, but we have Katie and Emily and Kira and Jake and Donovan and Hao and Jocelyn here. I don't think I'm missing anybody. I have all of these guys in class right now, and it's a very special group of students that we have in this freshman class. And so we're really excited about all of them and the progress that they're making. And I think the contributions that you're going to see them be making in the future to the success of the department. And so again, I just want to thank all of you for making their scholarships possible, and for many of them making it possible for them to come to school here at Mesa. So thanks always. I also want to just thank our season sponsors. Want to thank Chuck and Robbie Bro, who I don't think are on this call right now, but always grateful to them. To Chevron, to Instrom, to KFM, and to Colorado Public Radio, who are helping us out this season. And I think that was what, and Bob and Louise Salmons are also the sponsor of the Bravo Club. It's an easy task this year because they didn't have to pay for anything except the Zoom call, which I think is paid by the university. Anyway, it's great all to see your faces, and I'm going to turn it back over to you, Jeremy, unless I'm supposed to go elsewhere.
You followed the script very well. Good
Oh,
job.
thank you.
Thank you. I'll echo Mo in thanking all of you Bravo members for your support. As far as we know, next year the Bravo series will be live, though I would imagine we will probably continue videoing them for a short period of time for those of you who may not be comfortable coming back right away. We'll understand that, of course. And hopefully we'll have some cool, fun things in store for when we are live, just to shake us out of the Zoom malaise, if you will, and bring us back excited and ready to see some great shows next season. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the dance faculty, and I'm going to start off by handing it off to James Wallace. James has been our visiting professor of ballet and modern, and he's the director of tonight's show, and so he's going to start us off, and then we're going to hear a discussion between the choreographers for the show, and then at the end we're hopefully have enough time where we can open it up for if any of you have any questions about the show. So with that, welcome, James. Take it over.
Thanks, Jeremy. So the theme of this dance concert is shifting focus. And basically, we're exploring how changing our perspective affects how we view the world around us. And I thought what I would do is begin by just reading a portion of my director's notes. So as we have struggled to navigate through the difficulties of this past year, we have finally come to a place where we see a shift. Performing arts are slowly reopening, and this gives us hope that things are finally moving in a positive direction. The restrictions placed on us over this past year have forced us to become even more creative as artists, to shift how we normally work and find new ways of producing work. By responding to the pandemic through art, we create a type of therapeutic process that allows us to grieve, heal, and move forward. By shifting our focus, we can see a brighter future ahead of us, and through our patience and hard work, hopefully we will all arrive there together safely. So, this is definitely a different time to be working in dance and creating new work. We've been socially distancing in the studios. We've been wearing masks. We are not doing any type of partnering right now. And what this has done is it's just, as I said previously, it's really forced us to find a new way of working. And, when we're forced, when we have those limitations, sometimes that causes us to be even more creative. I thought what I would do is have each faculty member just talk about their individual pieces. I think we'll start off with our dance program coordinator, Amanda Benson, and then she'll talk about her work, and then she'll also talk about our guest artist work.
Hi, everyone. I'm kind of curious, have any of you seen the show yet? Okay, great. It tells me how much I should give away or not give away as far as endings of things. So as far as my piece is concerned, so my piece in the show is entitled Tara, Oh, the Places, ... And it really came from two inspiration points around this idea of shifting focus. So the first part, Tara, is actually a larger project that's going to have many iterations that I started collaborating on with Matthew Schleif, a fellow faculty member who has been our scenic and lighting designer on most of our productions this semester. So that project really was kind of birthed out of him seeing me perform a tap solo in his work with bone conduction headphones. And as an audience member, he's always felt that he wants to be able to hear the taps more than he can while music and taps are coming from the same direction while you're sitting in a theater. And I just thought, what are bone conduction headphones? And yes, let's do something. So we started to come up with this idea of a tap solo that was actually accepted before COVID happened to be presented at the Body Mind Centering Conference that was happening in Geneva, New York, or was scheduled to happen last summer. And it was going to be a site-specific tap solo. The audience would follow me around with these bone conduction headphones, and I would basically take a journey along different surfaces on tap and just explore the relationship between surface, taps, and sound. So that's where the collaboration kind of started. And I wanted to have an original composition as part of that. So someone that I worked with at Boulder when I was doing my MFA thesis was Jesse Mono, who's most aptly described as a one-man band. He can play a multitude of instruments. He can sing. He's performed in a lot of shows looking, kind of like a one-man band, playing all of the instruments. And I know that he's such a great collaborator and likes to have his mind expanded on the way that he thinks about sound and song and dance. So through professional development grants, I was able to hire him to create the music for the original project. And then COVID happened, so none of that happened. But we continued our collaboration, and Matt and I continue to think about different ways that we could have different iterations of this particular idea of Tara and the interaction of tap dance and sound in different surfaces. So that's really where it started. And my idea was like, okay, I want to do something really different. So I decided to do a film because I thought, okay, we don't have, 225 bone conduction headphones. We have 20. So that definitely won't work for our dance concert to be able to experience this piece that way. So what other ways can we have the same idea of exploring these different locations and different surfaces and take you on a journey and be able to hear the taps much better than you usually can on a Marley floor or even on our tap floor with tap mics? It still sometimes is difficult. So that's where the idea for the film came from. So I've been collaborating with Matt and Jesse on creating the sound. At the same time I was creating and collaborating with them separately, I was creating the choreography, all these different phrases of rhythms that got stuck in my head. And I was working with a soloist, Lindy Lyon, who's one of our dance majors, carrying on kind of the original idea of what Tara was, but replacing me with a student. And yeah, so it was a really interesting process of sending Jesse the dance phrases that I was creating, and some of the music was inspired by the phrases and the tempos that I created, and then some of it he just created, and we smashed it together, and others he created it, and I built the choreography off of the sound. So it's very rare as a dance artist to work in all of those ways in a collaboration. It's usually kind of one way or another, established from the beginning. So it's been really a developing process. And Lindy's been so great on board with just experimenting and going sometimes on unsafe surfaces to see if they were safe, and experiment with them. So she's been really amazing to work with on this project. We filmed it in 1 week, which is not really how you film something like that. It usually takes much longer to film. So we knocked it out in 1 week. And then we had the editing process, which was complicated because Matt had to go out of town for a family emergency. So we were trying to do that virtually and over the phone and send back edits of videos. And I'm just really proud of the work that we created. And it's been such an interesting iteration of it. And I know there's going to be more iterations of it, so stay tuned for that in the future. There's a Tara box idea now that we did these cabaret boxes. So that's maybe the next iteration of where we're going. But yeah, that's my piece in a large nutshell. That wasn't a small nutshell, like a walnut. And then we had our guest artists. So it's been really amazing and also really challenging this year. It was really important for me and for the students' educations to still bring in guest artists, even though we couldn't have them in person. So we had another virtual residency, and our guest artist was Rosalie Kantz, who's a Brazilian dance educator who's an assistant professor of dance at Alma College in Michigan. And I really, she was originally supposed to be our guest choreographer last spring, before everything got canceled, basically the 2 weeks before she was supposed to come here because of COVID. So she graciously agreed to be our virtual guest artist this semester. So she created an Afro-Brazilian piece, and her approach to the idea of shifting focus was a kind of a cultural shift of exploring what it means to be Brazilian as well as American right now, especially in a global pandemic. So some of the sound that you'll hear are actually sounds that she had her friends in Brazil record. They're protest sounds of people hitting pans, protesting against the presidency, against the pandemic response, against the massive amounts of deaths that have happened in Brazil because of COVID. So as like kind of an underlayer that you might not get from the piece just watching it, there's this deep connection to her roots in Brazil, and feeling that longing and loss of what's actually happening, taking place there, you know, politically, socially, economically, all of those things, you know, as we all kind of reel and start to recover from this pandemic. So her piece is called A Place, a Pan, and a Plant. There is a pan in there, there is a plant in there. I'll save the end for when you see it so I don't ruin any giveaways, but the end is pretty great. And the movement is all based on her movement vocabulary in Afro-Brazilian dance. So there's capoeira, there's mambo, there's other Brazilian forms, and it's all informed by kind of her also contemporary and ballet influences. So the movement is really rich, and it's been really great to see the students get into a different grounding outside of the forms that we typically do here, and just really full-heartedly embraced the ideas that she was kind of throwing at them as far as shifting their focus you know, on a dance sense, but also broadening their ideas of how other people in the world are being affected by what we're affected by. That's it.
Thanks so much, Amanda. And then next, we'll hear from Gabby.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. The piece I choreographed this semester is called Enter Our World, the Change in Perception. And essentially, it's about society's normalcy of a female and how that conversation is changing. I picked 2 songs, and essentially the first song is making fun of the idea of what culturally the idea of a female has been, and in a way kind of mimicking it, also having some fun with it. And then into the second song is when we really start to transform into who we want to be, really exploring the idea of letting a female or a woman be who they want to be, let them be themselves without anybody else deciding for them. And I knew going into the semester I wanted to do something that kind of confronted some of the issues that I had been happening over the previous few years. But little did I know, once I sat down with my cast and I got to hear and really listen to them, how much their lives have adapted from when they're young females to growing adults, and how some of those similar situations, whether it's inappropriate comments or just overall situations they have been in, whether that's with family or friends or peers at school, how that's affected them as an adult, and how they are really trying to strive to be who they want to be. And so it was really fun putting this piece together. It was quite the process, and it is in collaboration with the dancers. We really worked through some of their personal experiences. I had them create some movement based off of their personal experiences and how they feel about themselves and their experiences. And then between myself and the rest of the dancers, we were able to come up with some very interesting movement. The piece is a jazz funk, so it comes out of jazz and hip hop elements, which makes it really entertaining and fun, and you can connect with it. But even down to the costuming is intentional. They are on all white. And they all look exactly the same, and they have these big bright pink lips on. And so through the first song, we're really making fun of what society's female is supposed to look like. And then through the transition through the second song, they start to add these black layers onto them, still showing that those cultural society norms are underneath their shells and what they're trying to become and who they're trying to become, but they are trying to build their own lives and trying to change that conversation. So it's been a privilege to make this piece. I've really enjoyed having my cast work so closely with myself, and vice versa. And it's been really a rewarding experience.
Thanks so much, Gabby. So my piece is called Next, and it's a contemporary ballet piece. And my work tends to be autobiographical, meaning that I tend to choreograph whatever I happen to be going through at that moment. And how I tackled this theme is I've recently gone through a time where I've felt that my voice has not been heard, and then kind of arriving at a point where I feel like my voice is finally heard. So the first section kind of explores that idea of not feeling like your voice is heard, that almost kind of a sense of being bound. And then the second section that it goes into is kind of this freedom that's gained from feeling like your voice is finally being heard. And then on top of that, I've recently had a situation where I've had to learn to let go of something that I wanted very badly. And so you have this added layer of letting go and, understanding that that's an okay thing to do, to use my work to kind of work through these things that I've been going through. And then, just in kind of general, what I try to do when I'm choreographing is I try to create a work that kind of pushes the dancers maybe just past where they normally are, just to help them get a little stronger. And then also I always try to emphasize a very professional working environment. I try to create a rehearsal space that would have been similar to what I had when I had my professional company. And then I also try to create work at a level that I would have expected of my professional dancers. So they really hopefully gain that professional experience and then hopefully grow stronger from having that experience. But that's basically my piece. And then we also have 5 student choreographers on the program too. And I would just like to say that the dancers have all worked so very hard on this program. And I personally feel that this is a really strong program, and I hope that you all enjoy it. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Jeremy.
Thank you to our choreographers for giving us this insight into this work. We have a little bit of time, and so I thought we'd take some time to answer any questions you might have about the concert. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask of the choreographers while they're here? And if so, just unmute and fire away. Anybody? I think maybe so. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jocelyn.
I just wanted to ask James, I noticed while watching your piece last night that like sometimes the costumes looked the same color at the top and then sometimes they looked half white and half black, and I like could not figure out if they were half white or half black, and I just found that texture so interesting and really pleasant to look at.
Thank you. Yeah, so they are half white and half black. And I actually chose these costumes because they're asymmetrical. And my work tends to be quite symmetrical. And so I really wanted to play with that idea of having this asymmetrical costume and how that makes the symmetry look different than how it would normally work within the piece.
Awesome. Great question, Jocelyn. Anybody else? Jill?
Hopefully, I came in a little late, so hopefully you didn't already address this, but I know that on this concert, you worked with the student lighting designers throughout, and I was wondering if you all could talk about what that experience was like.
I'll start if that's okay. I think what's been really amazing, I'm always amazed by the colleagues that I get to work with within this department. But I think what amazes me the most about the student lighting designers is the training and the education that they received from Matthew Schleif and the way that they are able to step in. So originally they were only choreographing the student choreograph pieces, and Matt was going to choreograph, or not choreograph, although he would, if we gave him the opportunity, I think he would choreograph. He was going to design the faculty as well as the guest artist piece. And because he had to go out of town, that all shifted. And I think the students did an amazing job taking over both his ideas, but also then communicating with all of us about the wants and needs for the various pieces and really seeing that to full execution. And in the moment being there with them in tech, there's nerves, of course, as students doing it for the first time and they want to please their student choreographer and they even more want to please all the faculty that's around them. But they did a really great job of balancing their own ideas and why they were doing the things they were, and also supporting, the artistic vision of the whole show, but also each individual piece. So I was really impressed. Some of them came in with just like too many ideas, but they were good ideas. And that's always a great place to start from, rather than, paring it back as opposed to like, So I say kudos to all the students with their professionalism, and then kudos to, our colleague Matt, who's not here today, for giving them the tools to be professionals in the room with us.
James or Gabby?
Sure. I would just say that I would completely reiterate what Amanda had just said. I was very impressed with the student designers. I feel that the final product looks amazing. I am and especially, with my own work, I was so pleased with the design that Josiah came up with. And I mean, I really feel that it looks like a professional lighting designer. And I feel that the way these students are working and the work that they have produced really is a reflection of Matt and his skill as a teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. I was very impressed with how prepared Lindsay was coming into my last rehearsal to jump in there and take a look at what the piece looked like and how inspired she was to put the lighting together, and the final outcome, just it really is remarkable, and it did my piece a lot of justice. I think it really took the costuming to the next level, in a sense, to the point where they're glowing on stage. And I'm so impressed with both, all the pieces, with all the students, and all of the lighting that they did. And with Lindsay, with mine, I'm very impressed.
Awesome, thank you. And thanks for a great question, Jill. Anybody else have a question they'd like to throw out there? Going once, going twice, and sold. Awesome. Well, I imagine some of you, like me, are watching the streaming tonight. I do want to remind you that the show will be, if you are watching it online, or if you're watching it live and you'd also like to watch it online, that it'll be streaming through May 9th. Once you purchase your ticket, you should be receiving those links. If you have any trouble, please let us know by contacting Laura Connolly, who's our box office manager here in the building. And we'll absolutely make sure that that works out for you. I want to thank the dance faculty and James, the director of the concert, for helping us tonight to have a different entrance into the concert. It's always valuable to get this insight from the creators, and we so appreciate that. So thank you all for that. Before we go, I'm going to throw it back over to Amanda. For those of you who were with us at the Miss Holmes Bravo Talk, we announced the season, but Amanda wasn't able to be with us, so we were reading from her writing. But I wanted to give her just a second if she wanted to talk about the themes and the ideas for the concerts next season. Take it away, Amanda.
Yeah, thanks. I always get excited about these themes because I think it provides all of us like a creative outlet as well as an avenue, both the students and faculty choreographers, to kind of expand our ideas, but also focus them around a central theme. And when trying to come up with the themes for next year, and talking to the students, what have been the most salient things for us in the past year? What have we been missing? Connection, physical connection, being in the same room with all of you, being able to pour you a glass of wine before the show, those small ways of connecting, that you start to get fatigued, that you don't have that connection. And then the relationship with time, of how time has felt like it's going so slow and so epically fast at the same time throughout this whole past year of, I'm still in shock that we're in dance concert weekend and that we made it through all of these productions this year. So those were, two central ideas. So that's really where the idea for the fall concert comes from, is time to connect. So really exploring all these ideas around time and connection and relationship. And then the spring, what else have we been missing? Joy. It's hard to find joy and it's hard to find happiness here. So the small ways that we can find it and the large ways. So spring is just going to be all about finding joy. And what does that mean to us as dancers and as choreographers and as creators? Hopefully in a time that's less restricted than we have been in. So I'm excited to see what the students come up with and what the faculty comes up with and what our guest artists come up with.
And one other thing, Amanda, I wonder if you'd like to talk about the Raw concert that's coming up, right?
Yeah. So one thing that was important to me in supporting the students this year was to make sure that our CMU Dance Society still was able to produce their student-produced show. That's called Raw, Real Artistic Works. So I don't know if any of you saw it last semester, But what we're doing is getting up early tomorrow morning and coming back to the theater at 9 a.m. so that we can film pieces. As some of you may know, the way that our adjudications work, the students submit applications to choreograph for the dance concert. They go through the process, and then we decide who's in the faculty concert, who's in the student concert. So we have 5 students in this concert, and there's 2 student works that were set to be in raw. So those will be filmed, as well as an improvisation, a tap solo, and I think a couple other things that we're filming tomorrow morning. And then that will start streaming the day after the dance concert stops. So that'll start on May 10th and go, I believe, until May 22nd. And it's just $5, and all of that money goes directly to Dance Society. And that fundraiser, we're hoping, every year since I've been here, I've been able to take them to ACDA, the American College Dance Association conference. Of course, this year it didn't happen at all because of COVID, but I'm hoping that we can do that again next year. So all of those funds will go to directly supporting the students being able to attend that conference next year.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda. All right. Well, we are coming to the end of our time together. This is going to give any of you who are planning on getting to the theater tonight for the show a chance to get here, or a chance to pour yourself a glass of wine before you stream it in your house, whichever you're planning on doing. I want to just say thank you again to all of our Bravo members for all of your support of our students. And when we're saying goodbye, maybe all of you Bravo scholars need to give a big wave so they can see you and know the work that's been going on with them. We'll be back in September with our first Bravo of next season for Godspell. So keep a lookout for that. We should have information about Bravo Club out to you at the latest at the beginning of August. So keep an eye out in your emails and mails for that. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Mo to finish us off. Take it away, Mo.
Well, I want to thank you just one last time for being here. It's always great to see you. I also just want to acknowledge James Wallace, who has been a visiting professor here now for the last 2 years and has brought so much to the department. And we're just enormously grateful for him. He's just a lovely human being. I know that his students have benefited greatly from his leadership and his teaching skills. I remember when James was here, I think it was 7 years ago, was it, James, when you visited? You were a visiting professor then. And I've just always been so impressed with the work that James does. And we wish you all the very best in your future, and so grateful for what you've provided to us these last few years. So thank you, James. Let's give James a little round of applause. And I look forward to seeing you tonight at the concert. And that's all I have. And I think we're going to see you hopefully soon, and hopefully in person. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.